Disco Elysium is a wonderful, nuanced, weird, and totally unique game, and the games industry at large bears the tremors of the earthquake that its launch caused. Since 2019, it has lived many deaths. The first was the ousting of many formative members of the team behind it in 2021, including the writer of the world, Robert Kurvitz. Another came when Locust City, a spin-off where you play Cuno and Cunoesse and consult with and shape a Locust City in a box, was also cancelled. Another was when the official follow-up was, also cancelled. Zalm management has been methodically removing everyone involved with the original game. This has led to a fallout with multiple development teams attempted to follow up that original game. Zalm itself has just announced zero parades, and though some of the original teams still remain, People Make Games recently sat with two ex-members of Zalm, Argo and Dora, who not only claim the workplace itself is dysfunctional, closed off, and unwilling to properly compensate staff for the roles they're doing, but it paints a pretty shaky picture about what happens next for the studio. The recent trailer certainly looks interesting, but it's all rather murky. Moving from here, Red Info have creative members from the original games like Robert Kurvitz, Helen Hintpier, and Alexander Rostov, though information is still rather sparse. Hopetown from Longju has seen a successful Kickstarter and boasts the involvement of the likes of Martin Luger and, rather notably, Len Brown, the voice of the narrator. I think this project has a lot of curiosity and a lot of skepticism, as it didn't name all that many DE devs, and the likes of Brown, though iconic, won't really be responsible for making this game good. The trailer does look neat though. Speaking of Brown, he seems to be involved in not only Longju's project, but Summer Eternals, a worker-owned studio that, while fairly sparse in information, does have some very strong imagery and bold claims. Finally, we have Tangerine Antarctic, previously XXX Night Shift, a gritty detective game. This seems to be one of the more vocal projects with a name long before competition, which then recently changed, but I haven't quite found what sets it apart yet. But ultimately, though, following these creatives and their work is indicative of the quality of the games they're working on, and it's probably a good practice to care about developers given the effect of mass layoffs. This doesn't mean that having someone on team automatically captures what makes Disco Elysium work so well. And importantly, that doesn't mean you can't take inspiration without working on the original game. This right here is Rue Valley. It's the most excited I've been for a Disco Elysium-like game since, well, Disco Elysium, and surprisingly it's not being developed by anyone on the original team. Here's what happened when I tested the demo and why you should give it a go too. But first, I'm really trying to push to get to 4,500 subscribers by the end of the year, and I'm so close I can almost feel it. If you want to help me out, subscribing would be greatly appreciated. I think it's important to note, just because Rue Valley can't claim it's from the developers of Disco Elysium doesn't mean it can't get the sign-off, and multiple devs have actually positively spoken about it. Rue Valley's creative director reportedly showed the game off to Robert Kurvitz, Alexander Rostov, and Helen Hintpier. He previously talked in a podcast with the 41st Precinct about how they appreciated just playing the game in a way he didn't as a director. He talks about Hintpier finding it both familiar and refreshing, he talks about Rostov geeking out about art, and Kurvitz recommending they add voice acting. This is actually part of what put Rue Valley on my radar, but the thing that got me really excited is the demo. On Steam right now, you can play about half an hour of the game, and I'd advise you go and do so. If you don't want to, or you paused this video, played it and came back, thanks, welcome back. Here's what Rue Valley is and why I think it's got the sauce so far. So let's go to the start. Rue Valley immediately tasks you with spending ability points on a handful of personality traits, but your character is sort of hampered by it no matter which way. If you're sensitive, your sensitivity can make you fearful, over the top, and riddled with guilt. Flip it the other way and your indifference can lead to you being callous. If you are calculated, this can make it hard to make decisions. If you're impulsive, you don't put enough thought into them. This could be the difference between deciding not to screen a call because you're too reckless to care, or not making a decision because you think too much about it. After some sort of incident, your main character is attending mandatory therapy sessions in the middle of the desert. Then, when leaving your motel room to quench your thirst, a lightning bolt hits, A car speeds away, and the world is engulfed in flames. Then you awake, back in the therapy sessions, but now armed with more information. Rather than just going off trial, error, and new information, you unlock pathways in a sort of mind palace, piecing together conversations had and relevant information noticed to create new routes. These routes can be unlocked with inspiration earned from taking new paths. Rue Valley is a time loop narrative that, even in the first 30 minutes, shows itself to be thoughtful, quirky, and driven by a multitude of motivations, traits, and hang-ups in our character's personal life. Stylistically, it takes an awful lot from Disco Elysium, but it doesn't seem derivative in what little time I got with it. There's a very sickly pessimism to our character, one that allows him to be quite funny in a way. It doesn't feel like that tone spreads to the rest of the world though. Like Harry Dubois, our apathetic hero feels like a conduit for something else. I remember at one point looking in the mirror, going to rinse my mouth out, realizing the tap water looked brown, and having just high enough impulsiveness that I just sort of swished them around in my mouth anyway. It feels like it revels in just sort of messing with you. In the bottom right of the screen is the main character, plus their traits and statuses are slapped over the top of the picture. These statuses seem easy to get and were rather negative in the demo, but that actually contributes to the time loop of it all. Rather than save scumming, which I've admittedly been guilty of before, I got the sense that you are supposed to just see things through, mess things up, and get refreshed after 20 minutes. One of the very first things I did when leaving therapy in Rue Valley was interact with a bin, find bin juice on the floor, and move the puddle so it wouldn't reflect my own face back. In return, my character wound up with a soggy sock, which left them a bit disgusted with themselves, and they now had a slight squelch when they walked. It reminded me of the first time I played Disco Elysium, where I failed a skill check to run away from a bill and landed headfirst into a woman in a wheelchair. The result of this wheelchair bashing is her miraculously taking no damage and me getting a bruised ego. One thing I love about Disco Elysium is that winning every skill check isn't actually how you beat the game. Losing is itself a different win condition and allows you to see even more of that wonderful world. I'm hoping Rue Valley's main character's, well, pathetic nature is one that is exacerbated by the game, and the fact that you need to take personality traits that are detrimental to him suggests it has some of that source. The weirdness that comes from just being a bit pitiable. After the first loop, you become such a nervous wreck that even opening up your suitcase conjures nasty images of hidden dangers and whatever has happened in your life. It looks like the game is scratching at a deep and nasty psychology, one I really hope it has the guts to really commit to. From the outset, I would love for this game to just be incredibly weird. Notably, instead of having a percentage success/failure system, actions are determined by your stats. This, I feel, could streamline decisions made, but also could end up in the narrative feeling more restricted, so I'm hoping it's broad enough not to overly punish you for getting things wrong. Though the writing so far doesn't seem to be at the same grand pedestal as Disco Elysium, I think it's important to note it's just the start of the game. It's certainly charming and so driven by systems in-game that it definitely feels like it's there to explain itself rather than extrapolate on the world. I'm hoping once explained it really digs in, but there's plenty to like already. After all, saying something doesn't feel as striking as one of the best games of the last decade is certainly a high bar. What Rue Valley certainly does nail is its tone and style. The art is scratchy and quite comic book-like, even approximating the halftone style dots you find nestled between Spider-Man's fist and a baddie. Character design is certainly striking in its own way, feeling stylized and slightly not human without driving straight into the uncanny valley. And the music, it's so full with horns, strings, drones all wrapping around your ears. It helps hit at the solemn and desperate attitudes of our main character. There's a melodrama already at play, and one that I sort of love, where this apathetic lone wolf is being shaken by life to do something. This is something I can't wait to explore more of. It's also something I hope the devs are brave enough to make both as life-affirming and as depressing as the style seems to command. There's just something so lonely about it, and it's not because of the desert our character has found themselves in. Being caught and controlled by our own neuroses feels like a solid way to engage with the character-defining conventions of a time loop narrative. It just needs to actually let it define the character. Now, there is a big caveat to this game. We've only been able to play the opening half an hour, and though I think it sets up interesting narrative strands, that doesn't mean it will hold them. A demo should serve to engross you in the world and should offer you a great scoop of the game. We have to assume that most demos give the best pitch for a game and are quite cherry-picked as a result. There are plenty of places here for the game to go wrong in the full release. For instance, time loop narratives that drip feed the information too slowly or don't feel like they give you something concrete to reach for can feel tedious quite quickly. I did notice some conversations being skipped in the second repeat, so this suggests that the game lets you do so, but I can't say for sure just yet. I am very much looking forward to the full release, but I look forward with an optimistic skepticism, one that acknowledges the ambition of a project like this could rocket it into the atmosphere or send it plummeting down below. But luckily, we only have a few weeks to wait until its launch on November 11th, and I'll be keeping an eye on it when it does. It may just set a bar for all those other projects to fight alongside it, and if it doesn't, well, we have at least 5 more attempts at the formula left. Hopefully we get there this loop. Thank you for watching my video on Rue Valley. This was a little different to how I usually do it. I don't tend to talk about games that much before their release unless I'm talking about another game in the process. But I played this and I just felt like there was something there to talk about, and it's already got a demo, so just go give it a try. So consider this, I guess, a 10+ minute video on why you should play a 20-minute demo. Or maybe just wishlist the game and keep an eye on it when it comes out. If you've played the demo, let me know what you think. And if you haven't, go give it a try. If you liked this video and want to support me, subscribing would really, really help me out. Thanks.